Hi, I'm Mike, and I like to make videos about Salesforce. In this video, I'll be talking to you about how you can use an open source Apex utility to connect directly to the Google Maps API so that you can retrieve a distance matrix. If you need to retrieve a distance matrix, meaning you need to get turn-by-turn driving durations and driving distances, then a distance matrix is what you need. Now, the reason it's called a distance matrix is because it actually gives you the ability to make a request that allows you to specify multiple origins and multiple destinations, and then it'll give you the distances and the durations for all of the points in between all of those origins and all of those destinations. Yeah, so that's a little confusing. So let me just reiterate by saying a distance matrix is going to give you the turn-by-turn driving duration and the turn-by-turn driving distances between 2 points. Now, if you're wondering if this is possible using Salesforce Maps, the answer is yes. In fact, I recently recorded a series of videos that talk to you exactly about how to do that using the Salesforce Maps Apex API. I did that for my employer, TruSummit Solutions. It's a handy series of videos, and I'll give you a link to those videos in the description below. So what I'm showing you here is a little bit different. We're going to be querying the Google Maps API directly. A distance matrix query using the Salesforce Maps API gives you a pretty large collection of data specifically related to drive time durations. With Salesforce Maps, that distance matrix is going to give you a lot more detail than you might actually be looking for, specifically in regards to departure times. It's going to give you a variety of departure time windows throughout the course of a given day, and it gives you this data that's all built upon crowdsourced traffic data. It's a very effective query. It works. It gives you everything that you need, but it's a little bit slow, and if you're looking for something that's a bit quicker than that, then querying the Google Maps API may be the way to go if you have some specific requirements regarding the departure times. Then again, you could just be looking for just a faster query result. So by querying the Google Maps API directly, you can get a pretty zippy response, and then you have a little bit more control over the departure time that you want to specify as far as your drive time durations are concerned. Let's go ahead and take a look at the browser, and we'll get some details on that. Okay, here we are in the browser, and I'll just see if I can get a little bit closer so you can see. First thing to note is that to make a Google Maps API request, you do need an API key. That's going to go beyond the scope of this video, but once you have that API key in hand, you're pretty much ready to go. So the request itself is a pretty straightforward one. It's a simple GET request. The query string parameters that are most important are your collection of origins and destinations. Let me scroll down, I'll show you that here. So you can send these origins and destinations to the API in a couple of ways. You can send them as addresses, but if you have geocoding details like the longitude and latitude, you can send those over as well. You have additional parameters that you can send to specify a variety of different things like your arrival time or your departure time. One or the other of those is what you need to specify some of the details regarding drive times. There are things that you can specify to avoid, such as tolls, highways, ferries, and indoor. Departure time, this is the other thing. Of course, this goes hand in hand with arrival time. If you specify a departure time, then that's what it's going to go by as far as determining your drive times. You can only specify either an arrival time or a departure time, however. There's a variety of other parameters that you can specify here. This one is pretty important, which is mode. We're going to be using the default, which is driving, but you can also specify walking and bicycling as well. There's a variety of other parameters that you can specify here. This one is pretty important, which is mode. We're going to be using the default, which is driving, but you can also specify walking and bicycling as well. It's a straightforward request. It's really the formatting of the response that represents the heavy lifting. So let's see if we can take a look at some of those examples. I've scrolled down a little bit and I'm showing you some request samples. You can see that it's all just in the query string for the payload of your request, but I'm going to scroll down and see if I can find some responses. So we're looking at a sample response in JSON here. You can see that the response includes the destination addresses and the origin addresses. You can expect that there's going to be a rows element in your response. The rows node is an array, so every single origin that you specify in your request is going to be represented as a row. And then your rows can have multiple elements in their responses. So you can have multiple rows. Like I said, the rows represent the origin. And then each row has multiple elements, and those elements represent destinations. And you can see here, it's going to specify the distance. It's going to give you a numeric value. That's going to represent meters. But it also gives you a text value, and that's going to be a conversion. And as far as what the units are, that's all something that you can configure. In this particular example, it's showing you kilometers. The duration, it looks like this example is in French, so it's giving you 3 hours, or it's giving you 3 days and 16 hours. The value that's represented here in duration, those are seconds. And then you have a status. Status indicates whether or not you were successful in determining a distance and a duration for that given destination. So the challenge here is to find a simple way to manage this response and make it easy to consume, and that's what this open source utility is for. So let's go ahead and take a look at some code. Okay, we're looking at some Apex code here, and this Apex code is representative of the open source Apex utility by TruSummit Solutions for making connections to the Google Maps API. Specifically, we're looking at, at least at this class, we're looking at some inner classes that help us to format our request. We've also got this Google Maps API Connect class that's leveraging custom metadata to retrieve your API key. So we can take a quick look at this. I don't want to dive too deep into it. Ultimately, what you want to do is make sure that if you leverage this open source utility, that you follow your own security standards for ensuring the safety of your API key. This is just an example, but it's open source and you can go in there and make any modifications that you need to. I'll jump over here and show you that we do have a full suite of unit tests, which means that with full coverage, you can go ahead and deploy this and you're ready to use it. The only unit tests that you'll have to write are related to your unique implementation. This is the Google Maps Distance Matrix class. This is really where the heavy lifting is. And I'll just widen this up a little bit and make an adjustment to our view so that you can better see what's going on here. So there's a variety of things to look at. And, you know, it's an open source class. You know, the idea here is that you can deploy it and not have to worry about what's going on under the hood. So we won't do a deep dive, but I will show you that what we've got is this get distance matrix method, and it's overloaded a variety of different times. I want to say I've overloaded it about 9 different times, and that's really just to account for the different possible ways to make this request. So if you have geolocation data on your addresses, then you can format your request using this Google Maps location inner class that we've got in this tool that allows you to make use of the longitude and latitude values for your requests. You may not have that, and if you don't, then you've also got other implementations of the get distance matrix method that will allow you to make use of the Google Maps address inner class. And that's where you're just pulling a street, city, state, and country. You've got other options where you can also specify departure time. And that's going to use a Unix timestamp to specify departure time. That's going to take into account crowdsourced traffic data so that it can better calculate the drive or the turn-by-turn driving times. And then you've also got the ability to make a change to the mode. So by default, we're going to be doing the mode of driving, but if you want to calculate drive times, I guess in this case, it would be travel times and travel durations. If you're walking, you could specify that as well. I'm going to jump over to this distance example and show you what it's like to make use of this utility. So we'll jump into this example method and I'll show you what's going on here. We are first calculating our origin addresses, and I have 2 test origin addresses that I'm going to keep in a list. I've got 2 destination addresses that I'm also going to put into a list, and I'll show you really quickly what that looks like. I'll scroll down here and I'll show you that the test origin addresses, they're basically just a couple of addresses that we specify out here in Southern California in the beautiful San Fernando Valley, the city of North Hollywood. I've identified a couple of movie theaters, and we're going to use those as our origin addresses. And then scrolling down a little bit, we've got 2 destination addresses. These are some interesting places in Hollywood, specifically on Hollywood Boulevard. We've got the Pantages Theater as our first destination. Then we've got the El Capitan Theater, which is the location for shooting Jimmy Kimmel Live on a nightly basis, also on Hollywood Boulevard. So those are our destinations. Let me scroll back up. Once we've formatted our origins and our destinations, we're ready to go ahead and request a distance matrix. So it's really just a simple matter of calling get distance matrix on the TSSGoogleMaps distance matrix open source Apex utility. And then we store that distance matrix response in a variable called distance matrix. So what does that look like? Well, we'll go ahead and we'll do some debug output. You can see here that I look at the rows in my distance matrix. And because I have 2 origins, I'm expecting 2 rows. And then we iterate over the elements within those rows. And I'm expecting 2 matrix elements in each of those rows because I have 2 destinations. And the output that I'm expecting is show me the origin to the destination, which is a specific distance away and will take a specific duration to get there. That's what I want my output to look like. So we'll go ahead and we'll run this in Anonymous Apex, and we'll take a look at the debug output and just confirm that this utility is working the way that we're hoping it does. So I've got my Anonymous Apex open. I'm just going to go ahead and invoke this example. And with that done, I've got my output. Let's go ahead and take a look and see how it looks. So you can see here that I've got 2 instances of the origin in Valley Glen. It looks like it's made a correction to me. I specified North Hollywood as the city, but Google Maps has updated that and said that, nope, you're not in North Hollywood. That's actually in Valley Glen. So it says that the address on Victory Boulevard in Valley Glen to the address on Hollywood Boulevard is 8.5 miles away and will take 16 minutes to arrive. And then the second one, that Valley Glen address to the Hollywood Boulevard address, which is the Jimmy Kimmel Live Theater, that's 8.1 miles away. That's going to take 14 minutes to get there. And then you've got the second origin, right? The second origin appears twice, and it appears twice to show the results for each of its destinations. So we've got the North Hollywood address to the Hollywood Boulevard address is going to take it's 7.5 miles away. It takes 14 minutes to get there. The second one is 7.1 miles away, and will take 13 minutes to get there. So that's the Apex utility. That is it working successfully. So what else is there? Well, there actually is more. So this is going to be a 2-part series. I not only wanted to step you through what the Apex utility is and what it's doing, how it works, but I also want to show you an implementation of it in action so you can actually see that this is going to work for you successfully in Salesforce, and it's going to eliminate much of the heavy lifting in interacting with the Google Maps API. That's going to conclude this video. But come back and watch our second video where we step you through an actual implementation in Salesforce and show you this Apex utility in action. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.